In this video, we'll go over all of the best cards from the Destiny Hero archetype, which is a sub-archetype of the Hero archetype with almost exclusively dark monsters. And at number 10, we have Destiny Hero Dominance. This is a Destiny Hero fusion monster which simply requires any 3 Destiny Hero monsters as its fusion materials, and has the effect where you can rearrange the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. If it destroys a monster by battle, you get to draw a card, and if it's destroyed, you get to special summon 3 Destiny Hero monsters from your graveyard. And at level 10 with 2900 attack, it's an okay card. Honestly, its graveyard effect is essentially a +2 in card advantage, and its ability to draw 1 card is very reminiscent of Elemental Hero Nova Master, but it's kind of overshadowed by 2 other Destiny Hero fusion monsters, so it doesn't really see competitive play, despite the fact that there is a really good Destiny Hero fusion spell card called Fusion Destiny. Fusion Destiny allows you to fusion summon a Destiny Hero fusion monster by sending the materials from your hand or deck to the graveyard, but with the restrictions that the monster is destroyed during the end phase of the next turn, and it locks you out of special summoning other monsters except for Dark Hero monsters for the rest of the turn. And Destiny Heroes have good Destiny Hero monsters that want to be in the graveyard, so sending 3 of them to the graveyard to bring out Destiny Hero Dominance sounds like a great idea. And the negative effect of Fusion Destiny will even proc Destiny Hero Dominance's floating effect, which is why it's played in pure Destiny Hero decks, but not competitive mixed hero decks. Generally, competitive hero decks play a mix of all of the heroes, so they don't really have room for Destiny Hero Dominance. And at number 9, we have Destiny Hero Diamond Dude. This card has a wholly unique effect, where you get to excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a normal spell card, you get to send it to the graveyard in order to use the effect of that spell card from your graveyard during your next main phase. And what's unique about this is that it allows you to bypass the cost of the card. So if you use something like Crystal Abundance, you can bypass the cost of having to send 4 Crystal Beasts to the graveyard, and just gain the excellent benefits of sending all the cards on the field to the graveyard. Or if you want to go even further, you can use the effect of Law of the Normal to get rid of all the cards in the field and in both players' hands. But more realistically, Destiny Hero Diamond Dude was usually used on Destiny Draw to just draw 2 cards, which is still a good effect, but not as flashy as resolving a Megaton Magical Cannon. So Destiny Hero Diamond Dude actually saw some competitive play in the past, in some variants of Airblade Turbo and Dark Arm Dragon decks, as it also comboed very well with Plague Spreader Zombie, which is a level 2 tuner monster that allows it to special summon itself from the graveyard by placing 1 card in your hand on top of your deck. So with Plague Spreader Zombie, you could set up any spell card you had in your hand to guarantee the activation of Diamond Dude's effect, and then just use the 2 of them to go into a synchro summon. Although Diamond Dude is kind of too slow to be played in modern hero decks, but it definitely had its time to shine, and is really too unique not to talk about. And at number 8, we have Destiny Hero Decider. This is one of the newer wave of Destiny Hero support cards that was released in 2016, about 8 years after the original release of Destiny Hero cards. And being released in the modern era, it has a lot better effects than some of the older Destiny Hero monsters. In that, when this card is summoned, you get to add a hero monster from your graveyard to your hand during the end phase. And it also has 2 other niche effects, where it can't be targeted by attacks with level 6 or higher monsters, and it has a way to prevent effect damage from the graveyard. And what's interesting about its 2 activatable effects is that they both have a once per duel restriction, which is pretty rare, and probably why this card is only played at 1 copy, if it's played at all in hero decks. It is played occasionally, which is why it makes this list, because as long as this card hits the field, you go +1 during the end phase with that recursion from the graveyard. So it's not a half bad option to normal summon, and it's also a target for mass change that go into Masked Hero Dark Law, although that applies to pretty much all the Destiny Hero monsters, as of course, Masked Hero Dark Law is the best hero monster, so all the Destiny Heroes being a target with mass change is kind of why Destiny Heroes were the hero archetype to see a whole bunch of competitive play in YuGiOh Duel Links. Although YuGiOh Duel Links does not have Masked Hero Dark Law, but they do have Masked Hero Anki, which is a 2800 attack fusion monster that can only be special summoned with the effect of mass change and has 2 effects. One of them allows it to attack directly by halving its attack. The other is if this card destroys a monster by battle, you get to add a change quick play spell card from your deck to your hand. And so in YuGiOh Duel Links, where the starting life point value is only 4,000, being able to go into multiple Masked Hero Ankis could allow you to beat over your opponent's monsters and attack for game. Or just attack directly to poke down your opponent in control by the nature of mass change, allowing you to chain it to destruction effects to dodge them. In normal Yu-Gi-Oh!, Masked Hero Anki also sees competitive play, but just as an alternative to go into besides Masked Hero Dark Law. And at number 7, we have Destiny Hero Dynatag. This is a level 5 Destiny Hero monster, also released in the new wave of Destiny Hero support in 2016, which simply has the effect that if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to make one Destiny Hero monster you control gain 1000 attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. It also has some niche effects of reducing battle damage from the hand, but the main reason this card sees play is because of that graveyard effect. Now on surface level, the graveyard effect seems kind of mediocre. It's just a simple attack booster and that's it. However, it's no ordinary simple attack booster, because Destiny Heroes have a fusion card called Destiny Hero Dystopia, which can take advantage of temporary attack boosts in order to consume that attack boost in order to destroy a card on the field. So Destiny Hero Dynatag kind of exists as an option to give Destiny Hero Dystopia more attack so it can use its effect. And that's why it sees competitive play, and in a lot of hero decks too. And at number 6, we have Destiny Hero Dangerous. This is another new wave Destiny Hero fusion monster, which sees way more play than Destiny Hero Dominance, despite technically not being stronger, but let's go over its effects. First off, its materials are just one Destiny Hero monster, plus one Dark Effect monster. And it has the quick effect where you can discard one card to send a Destiny Hero monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, to then boost the attack of all of your Destiny Hero monsters by 200 for each Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard until the end of the turn. So all of this seems pretty incredibly mediocre. Although just like Destiny Hero Dynatag, the attack boost is actually really useful when used in conjunction with Destiny Hero Dystopia, in order to be able to destroy monsters. And also, what's super useful about Destiny Hero Dangerous is its fusion materials, and the fact that it allows you to send Destiny Hero monsters from your deck to the graveyard in order to activate its attack boosting effect. It's kind of like an Armageddonite in fusion monster form. Thanks to the fusion spell card, Fusion Destiny, you can bring out Destiny Hero Dangerous by sending any Destiny Hero monster from your deck to the graveyard, plus any Dark Effect monster. And do you know how many Destiny Hero or Dark Hero Effect monsters have graveyard effects, or effects that activate when they're sent to the graveyard? There's about 9 of them, plus most of the rest of the Vision Hero archetype. And of the 9, 5 of them see heavy competitive play. And some of those 5 are going to be on higher spots in this list. So being able to just send a whole bunch of really good targets to the graveyard to bring out the Fusion Armageddonite is pretty good. And then it allows you to send another one from your deck to the graveyard with its actual effect, which can be used to boost up the rest of your monsters and activate the effect of Destiny Hero Dystopia. And at number 5, we have one of those good Destiny Hero cards with the graveyard effect, Destiny Hero Celestial. This card has the effect in the graveyard that if you have no cards in your hand, and it's a turn in which this card was not just sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and one other Destiny Hero monster from the graveyard in order to draw 2 cards. So if you're able to empty your entire hand by just, say, doing a whole bunch of fusion summons or special summons from the hand, something hero decks can do pretty easily, you can then use its graveyard effect to draw 2 cards, which is incredibly good. And for some reason it's only a hard once per turn. You'd expect it to be a once per duel effect like Destiny Hero Decider, based on how much they like to slap once per duel effects on Destiny Hero cards. It also has another effect on the field, where if it declares an attack, you get to destroy a face-up spell card your opponent controls, and then inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. So if you attack with this card, you can sometimes destroy your opponent's field spell card, or some other face-up spell card they might have. It's definitely not a selling point of the card, but it is a pretty neat addition on top of its really good graveyard effect. Especially in an archetype that has Fusion Destiny to send it to the graveyard really easily, or even Destiny Hero Dangerous to get it in the graveyard as well. And at number 4, we have Destiny Hero Dystopia. Now, I've already talked about this card a couple of times in this video, mainly because it's impossible to talk about Destiny Hero Dynatag without mentioning Destiny Hero Dystopia. This is another new wave Destiny Hero fusion monster, which just requires any 2 Destiny Hero monsters as materials, and that has the effect where if this card has an attack point value which is different from its original attack, it will be able to use its quick effect, which allows you to target one card in the field and destroy it. Then this card's attack is reset to its original attack point value at 2800. This effect is a hard once per turn, but since it's a quick effect, you can use it again as soon as your opponent's turn starts. So having a way to increase this card's attack multiple times during the turn is necessary in order to have it live during your opponent's turn, if you want to also use it during your turn. So you could increase it with something like Destiny Hero Dangerous, and then increase it again with Destiny Hero Dynatag, since the attack increase from that lasts until the end of your opponent's turn. And even if you don't use its effect, Destiny Hero Dystopia will be a 3800 attack beatstick with Destiny Hero Dynatag boosting it, which is kind of hard to beat over. Destiny Hero Dystopia is an excellent fusion monster, Probably one of the better Hero Fusion monsters in general. Although not the best, that one is easily Master of Dark Law, but it's pretty high up there. The biggest problem with this card is it definitely requires other support in order to use its Spell Speed 2 Destruction effect. But as proven with cards like Zodiac Trident and Masterpiece the True Dracoslain King, Spell Speed 2 Destruction effects are really good on boss monsters. Especially one that's able to be brought out using materials from the deck with Fusion Destiny, which then puts a whole bunch of really good graveyard effects in the graveyard that you can use later. And at number 3, we have Destiny Hero Plasma. This is one of the main deck boss monsters in the Destiny Hero archetype, as it's a level 8 monster which has the effect where it can only be special summoned from your hand by tributing 3 monsters. And while this card is on the field, it has the effect where it just passively negates the effects of all of your opponent's face-up monsters. So think a one-sided skill drain. And once per turn you can absorb one of your opponent's monsters in order to increase the attack of this card by half the attack of the monster it's equipped to itself. And since this special summon is technically not a tribute summon, you can actually tribute stuff like Scapegoat tokens in order to bring out Destiny Hero Plasma. So it's actually really easy to bring out compared to other 3 tribute cards, like maybe Obelisk the Tormentor. And all of its effects are really good. Skill Drain is currently limited to 1 copy because of how good of a Floodgate is. And Destiny Hero Plasma only affects your opponent too, not both players. And the ability to absorb monsters is also an incredibly good form of monster removal, because it bypasses pretty much all kinds of protection, unless you literally cannot target the monster or if it's just immune to monster effects. And one of the biggest downsides to Destiny Hero Plasma is that it does require those 3 resources, and is pretty vulnerable to basically any form of removal. Even with all those downsides of being a floodgate made of glass, it still saw all kinds of competitive play throughout the years, as just a legit viable boss monster to go into. It might be one of the most successful 3 tribute boss monsters in the game because of just how good its passive floodgate is. They are about to release a new card called D-Force, which is a continuous spell card that kind of covers all of the downsides of Destiny Hero Plasma, where D-Force has the effect that it allows you to add Destiny Hero Plasma from your deck or graveyard to your hand on its activation, and then while it's on the field, it gains 3 effects if you control a face-up Destiny Hero Plasma, where your opponent can't target any of your cards with card effects, your Destiny Hero Plasma cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and it gains 100 attack for each monster in both players' graveyards, and it can make a second attack during each battle phase. But also it has a negative effect where you can't draw cards during your draw phase anymore. And so D-Force kind of turns Destiny Hero Plasma into a legitimate boss monster with all of its buffs. It makes sure it has a whole bunch more attack, it can no longer be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and to top it all off it can just attack twice now. Seeing as D-Force has not been released in the TCG yet, it's unknown if it'll actually see play in hero decks, but seeing as Destiny Hero Plasma already sees play in hero decks, there is a chance it could become better. And if the Destiny Hero monsters didn't have 2 completely broken cards in their archetype, Destiny Hero Plasma would probably be the number 1 on any other list. And at number 2, we have Destiny Hero Malicious. This card has only a graveyard effect, that it can banish itself from the graveyard to special summon a second copy of it from your deck. This effect is not once per turn, so with 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious, you can essentially go +2 in card advantage if you're able to get a single copy of it into the graveyard. Assuming you have a way to make use of a low-statted level 3 dark monster on the field, which a ton of decks can make use of. There are so many useful applications of getting a body on the field by using a resource from your graveyard that it's kind of overpowered, and the reason Destiny Hero Malicious constantly goes on and off the semi-limited list. The semi-limited list basically exists to house Destiny Hero Malicious. Because at only 2 copies of it allowed in your deck, it's effectively only a +1 in card advantage if you're able to get a single copy of it into the graveyard. If this card is limited to 1, then it's completely useless, which is what they did with Zodiac Ratpier, who has a similar broken effect. Although occasionally Konami will take Destiny Hero Malicious off the semi-limited list back to unlimited, but that never lasts very long. And as I mentioned already with a whole bunch of the other spots in this video, Destiny Hero decks, as well as just hero decks, are very good at getting Destiny Hero monsters into the graveyard. Even back in the day when this card was first released in the first wave of Destiny Hero cards, it saw all kinds of competitive play by just ditching it through the graveyard with Destiny Draw, using it as synchro materials to go into high-level synchro monsters, a dark monster in the graveyard that can manipulate it for Dark Armed Dragon decks, or just tribute fodder for Perfect Circle Monarchs. Out of all the Destiny Hero monsters in the game, Destiny Hero Malicious has easily seen the most amount of play out of all of them. Because not only does it see play within all hero decks, it also has just seen play in a whole bunch of other non-hero decks as well, for having one of the best graveyard effects in the game. And at number 1, we have Destiny Hero Disc Commander. Just a reminder, this video is about the best Destiny Hero monsters of all time, which only really applies for Destiny Hero Disc Commander. The original effect of Destiny Hero Disc Commander was that if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you get to draw 2 cards. So basically, if this card is special summoned, you go +2 in card advantage. It's not once per turn, and existed in an archetype that could send it to the graveyard pretty easily. Even in the early days of the game when you basically only had Elemental Hero Stratos to search it out, and Destiny Draw to get it into the graveyard. And because Disc Commander's excellent effect to just draw 2 cards every time it was brought out of the graveyard, it gave infinite more value to cards that could special summon monsters from the graveyard, like Premature Burial or Call of the Haunted. Usually, if you use something like Call of the Haunted, that is a +1 in card advantage for getting a monster on the field out of the graveyard, and then an additional +2 because of Disc Commander's effect. Then you could use Disc Commander as a material in the field for whatever you wanted. And in Perfect Circle Monarch decks, they would just use Destiny Hero Disc Commander as a tribute for Rise of the Storm Monarch, or Light and Darkness Dragon. Light and Darkness Dragon was kind of the boss monster of Monarch decks before 2016 Structure deck that introduced the modern Monarch support. Light and Darkness Dragon has the effect that it cannot be special summoned, and also is treated as the Dark attribute while in the field. Since it's a level 8 monster, that means your only way to bring this card out is to tribute summon it with 2 tributes, which is something Monarch decks are really good at getting out. While on the field, it had the effect that if a card effect was activated, this card would lose 500 attack and defense exactly in order to negate that effect. This effect was not optional and could only happen once per chain, which means it would negate your own card effects as well. Additionally, when this card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you would then be able to destroy all the cards you control in order to special summon 1 card from your graveyard. So after Light and Darkness Dragon negated a couple of card effects, it would be low on attack points and be vulnerable to your opponent to just attacking over it with anything. At that point, it would blow up whatever you had left on your field and then allow you to special summon Destiny Hero Disc Commander, which would then allow you to draw 2 additional cards. So every time Light and Darkness Dragon was destroyed, assuming you had no other cards in the field, it would allow you to go +3 in card advantage thanks to Disc Commander. And cards which allow you to go +1 in card advantage are heavily regulated. Just look at Pot of Desires or Pot of Extravagance. They both have heavy downsides and hard ones per turns for only going +1 in card advantage. So Destiny Hero Disc Commander was just kind of insanely strong if you were able to find ways to special summon it from the graveyard. And even back in the day when special summons from the graveyard weren't as plentiful as they are today, they were finding ways to abuse its effect, which is why the card is banned. And then when it was eventually taken off the ban list, it wasn't done so until after they super nerfed its effect. Basically, the original effect was so powerful that they added heaps of restrictions onto it, where the card could no longer be special summoned from the graveyard during the turn it was sent to the graveyard. Then, if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you get to draw 2 cards, but only once per duel. So instead of just slapping a once per duel effect on it, or even a hard once per turn, they went the extra mile and restricted it from not being usable at all during the turn it was sent to the graveyard. With these restrictions, you know they messed up with the original card. In the modern era, the pre-errata Destiny Hero Disc Commander would be one of the strongest cards in the game, because of just how ridiculous that advantage is from being summoned from the graveyard. Especially with the new wave of Hero and Destiny Hero support, like Destiny Heroes receiving Dr. D, a new spell card that lets you special summon a Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard. So pre-errata Destiny Hero Disc Commander is easily the best Destiny Hero monster of all time. Although modern day Destiny Hero Disc Commander is kind of meh, because the downsides are just doing a really good job of reining in its powerful effect. Alright, and that's the list. If you think I missed any other better Destiny Hero cards that should have made the list, I'd love to hear about them and why down in the comments. This video idea was taken from the comments of a previous video, so if you have any ideas for future videos you'd like to see, I'd love to hear about them as well.